I've been quite in tune with my sexuality from a young age. I knew I wasn't straight, so when I started to explore it, it was like I didn't know what was right or wrong because it was never been spoken about. I'd never seen sex around the household, nor have I seen my mum and dad together. So for me, it was a whole new area that I was about to explore. I was in primary school, so year 4, so throughout infant school I was fiddling with this girl, a few girls underneath the stairs, then went into primary school, went with the same cohort of young people that was in my infant school. And one day we was experimenting with a group of girls. There was about 4 to 5 of us, and I was quite developed very young, so we was all showing each other bits and taking our clothes off and stuff in this period of time where we had, you know, we was unsupervised. And yeah, it got a bit intense. And a few weeks later, these girls told the teacher, and they incited it was my idea. And on parents' evening that night, the teacher told my mum. Yeah. And when I got home, my ass got bust. Yeah, I got beaten of my life. That made me know that whatever this feeling is, or whatever, where my mind's gone, it's not allowed. My mum never spoke about it. I got my ass bust. From that bus ass, I never went back to even exploring or even trying to understand girls and girls. I just left it alone. So throughout the years, I kind of had to conform to society's norms. So with that, I battled for a long time with my sexuality and who I was. I've always been a tomboy. That's just my genetics. And yeah, I went through it. I believe I became homophobic at a certain stage as well because of my household. What the norms and what my mum was bringing us up in, that was not the norm. So it was like, I'm Caribbean. So my mum's Dominican, my dad's Jamaican. And in that background, it's like it's a taboo to be gay when you come from a Caribbean background. So it was very difficult for me to even talk about it to my sister or even ask about what is this feeling, because I'm very sexually active from a young age, to be real. And it developed from there. So I kind of got put back in my pram, kind of had to consume this inner tomboy who liked girls. I had to consume it. So I went into secondary school and I was just anti-gays, anti-lesbians. I just was not, it wasn't about it. And then I had an encounter in, say, like year 10, and this girl was at a track and field meeting, and this girl slapped my ass, and I kicked her ass in front of everybody. Yeah, and I felt really bad. Years down the line, I felt really bad because I was just like you. You was my type, but I couldn't express that with my cohort of young people. Plus, I was quiet. I was known. I had a name, fighting, and I was quite respected in the end. So for me to come up with that, whoa, it was like a double whammy. Family don't accept it, then I'm going to get chastised in the ends for about it. So let me just live 2 different lives. And for years, I lived 2 different lives. I was one person. I lived 4 different lives, to be honest, because I was the street girl, and I was the good girl, and I was the lesbian, but I had to be straight. So I was going through a transitional of different emotions, different feelings. So when I was in year 11, it just came out. Like, I just started making sexual remarks about girls, and my friends who I was with at the time, they was like, we saw it. They knew the day the transition. I just thought, forget this. I just spoke how I felt. And a lot of people was like, wow, you could tell, but no one wanted to confront me, no one wanted to ask me about it. They just didn't have that kind of courage. From 16 to about 18, I went through a cohort of girls. Just, yeah, I was a nastiness at a certain point. Yeah, I was experimenting, I was dating, exploring, raving, and all of that mix. It just made me got involved in that rush, that whole irony of coming out and chasing the buzz, but I wasn't coming out. I was still saying, I'm a girl, so I'm allowed to have all these female friends. So I tried to play it very smart. I'm a girl, so I have a lot of girlfriends, like girly girls. Not all of them are tomboys, but I'm the tomboy within that group of girls. So for me, it was, I just had a lot of girls around me at the time, and the attraction of it, it was in secret, because a lot of girls only had that likiness for you. And when you kind of suss that kind of girl out, it's like, whoa, there's a lot more out there like that. So you start putting yourself more places. So for me...
Do you mean like straight girls? Or?
Yeah, straight girls, and they like that tomboy. There was that quirkiness. I don't know what it is, what people are attracted to within tomboys or studs, or females, what their attraction is, but I got a lot of that attraction from females. And when I was 17, yeah, I was raving hard. I was raving 7 days a week. Yeah, Heaven, Caravana, Lush, everything, back to back raving, literally, was just out there. And a family friend saw me out. And yeah, this is where the penny dropped, because for a long time my mum didn't know. She even had an inkling. And the family friend was walking down Line Road one day, and the family friend said, "Oh, we saw you at the gay club. So-and-so saw you at the gay club." Oh my gosh. My mum and I. And I was like, oh, just when they're friends. That was it. A lot of my friends are like that, so that's why I feel comfortable most, raving, wear whatever you like, got through it. And one day my mum, I think she starts bringing the amount of girls in the house. Different girls every day. There were just girls coming to the house, girls. And I'm like, yeah, they're my friends. This time I know it's a whole different ball game going on. So this rumour is going around in Brixton. Nequela's bisexual. My mum keeps hearing it amongst her cohort of friends. She's confronted me. So one day I've come in, had this girl upstairs in the room. She was sleeping, chilling in the bed. Come back down, and my mum said, "Oh, I want to ask you something." She said, "I heard you're bisexual." She said, "I heard you're a lesbian." And I said, "No, I'm bisexual." And the reaction I got, my mum's stern. Like, she's very, like, I call it blood tape. You can't draw blood from a stone. She's old school. She's very traditional. And she broke down in tears. And that wasn't the reaction I was expecting. I could have more dealt with getting my ass kicked, to be honest with you. And then she said, basically, "I can't live under the same roof as a gay person, you need to leave." And the girl who was upstairs, she asked if that girl was my girlfriend. And I said, no. If I ever said that was my girlfriend and been so brazen, yeah, it would have been curtains. So I had to leave. Got the girl, told her, had a bag, left. Had a shorts on, Versace top, trainers, and I had a hat, and I left. Nothing and nothing. So I went back to this girl's house. Mum and everybody helped me out. I lived with this girl and her mum. Her mum took me in. And for a little while I was battling with, I wanted to get back in the family home. And I said to my mum, "Oh, it's a phase." Yeah, it's a phase. When I went back, it was like, nah, this isn't me. And then I left. I just left. And that's when my whole life kind of started to spiral in a whole different direction. I got more involved in selling drugs, started taking larger quantities of food because I had to survive. And I was at college, so I didn't want to give up the college because of my circumstances. So I just got back on the road and hustled hard, shaved. So majority of the time, I didn't really need to sleep. So for me, it was like, I didn't know right from wrong, but all I knew was, this is a feeling that I'm enjoying. And right now, I can't live my life for you, because when you're gone, how do I learn to live my life? So stepping away allowed everybody to respect me. I had a bit of a blast with this whole sexuality and exploring it, but I've been like this from early age. Yeah, I've never been straight, I could say. I can now identify and say I've never been straight. I've dated boys, but it just wasn't something for me. I've never seen... I think it all boils down to norms and values. So I've never seen a man in my mum's household beat her. None of that disrespect. And I went out with a boy in secondary school who hit me in the front of the class for being vocal. So from then it was like, no. I ain't subjecting myself to this. I'm not going to lie on my back. And when you're pleasured, you roll over and finish. You don't think about the other person. So for me, there was a lot of seeing the bigger picture. And I think I've been able to see the bigger picture from a young age, and I thought, nah, not really for me. But I've tried and experienced it, but each to their own, eh? My experience of prison, the big T, call it the big T. My time out. I went prison in Cornwall, so I went prison in Scotland, in Stirling, yeah. So when I became homeless, after the whole lesbian coming out about that, I became heavily involved in drugs. So I was selling drugs when I was about 13, 12, 13, yeah. So I started off selling weed to the kids in school, and just £5 here, £5 there. It made up a little bit of money to buy larger quantities or buy crack. I used to sell crack and heroin. After moving out, I got involved with the yardies, and that's when everything started to get a little bit wrong, because I had a girlfriend at the time and we lived in a hostel. So at the time, it was me and her in a hostel, so I was her guardian, her carer. She had epilepsy, panic attacks and stuff like that, but she was quite young, so her home life weren't very good. So we thought, you know what, when you get 16, let's move out. We got the hostel, and from then I had to kind of maintain. I had somebody else to look after. Plus she was younger than me, so I felt like it was my responsibility, wherein she didn't have her home life and everything was it was broken, so there was no one else there for her to depend on. So I got involved with the yardies and I started taking more quantities of food. So I started taking 4 to 5 ounces of crack and heroin, and I'd sell that, pebble them out, and just be out there constantly selling. Then I started doing trips up to Scotland. So Scotland, Glasgow, Aberdeen, and just little trips like that, because the money's, you get more money. So I make a trip, I get about £1,000, come back down with another package, get about another £1,000, and that's how it was. Plus I had my own little thing on the side. So I was working with people, but I also had my own pebbles that I was shotting in the night time in Brixton. And I got caught. I went up to Scotland one day and I had an inkling, but I needed the money. Everything was coming to a standstill. So that morning I went up to just near King's College and I picked up the package. But there was something didn't feel right. And my inkling was I was going to rob the pack. I was going to rob it. I should have robbed it. I always say it now, I should have robbed it, because I wouldn't have ended up going to jail. But if I'd have robbed it, I would have never got the money straight away neither, because I still would have had to go out and do the work. So in hindsight, forget robbing them, let me just go and do the drop. So I've gone from Euston to Aberdeen, but the journey just felt different. I've done the trip a few times, quite a lot of times, and the journey felt different this time. So I've got 13 hours on the train, no, 8 hours on the train from there to Aberdeen. And when I've got to Aberdeen, I've stepped out of the station, I've made the call to whoever I've called needed to call. And as I've stepped out, that was it. Officer, someone tapped me and said, "Excuse me, we believe you've got drugs on you." And I said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." So I was convinced. I convinced myself so much that even if I had the drugs on me, my reaction, that frenzy wouldn't give you that alarm that she's carrying drugs. So they said, "Can we take you down to the station?" I said, "All right, cool." Gone down there. As we got in the car, between a Scottish woman and a white guy, and the accent is so thick, I'm just not understanding anything they're saying. So we've got to the station, and when they've got to the station, they've pulled up my previous stuff, but there's nothing linked to drugs. It's all ABH, GBH, and things like that. So when they've pulled it up, they've said, I'm quite at resist arrest, travelling on somebody else's travel car, just little things. So they assumed I'm quite a handful. So they've said, they've searched my goods, my belongings, there's nothing there. So as they've said, strip search, that's when it all went wrong. So I've just gone in and I've taken out a few packages that was there in my clothing. And as I've taken out, it's like, that's it, stop, breathe, no. Gone and done a strip search, and as I'm taking off my stuff, drugs are just going everywhere, just flying everywhere. It's everywhere, in between my toes, everywhere. Drugs are just coming out of me. So I was up there for about 5 days. So I was in the cells for 5 days straight. Then I got bail. I got the luck of bail. I got bailed. Went to court, got bailed. Came back down to London. There was another court case. I had to go back up there. Went back up there, got bailed again. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? The third time, I went on the run. I wasn't mentally ready for it. So I was about 17. I was not mentally ready to go to prison. So 7th of October, was it 7th of October? I can't remember what year it was. I went 2008 possibly. They've summoned me to come to the court. So I said, you know what, free paper done. Took my bag. Everyone's like, you're going to get bail again. I said, nah, not this time. I took my bag, everything, and I went. When I've gone up there, the next morning we've gone to court, and basically they remanded me. I knew it was happening, but at this stage, I was mentally ready to handle this. And the reason it was because I used to smoke weed. And for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go mad. The amount of weed I used to smoke, it was like, to have that taken away, that's the only thing I was worried about. I'm not worried about going to jail. It was not having the weed to function, because that's what we was functioning with out here. That's all you had, smoke up, wake up, smoke, go to bed, smoke,
Do you smoke now?
No, at the moment I don't smoke. I smoke cigarettes, but I've tried to conform myself away from the whole smoking cannabis with the work that I'm doing at the moment. So it was like, I can't mentally manage. So when I was able to feel like, okay, I'm going to manage this, I went. And yeah, it was scary. I had to leave that whole bad girl South London attitude in South London, because I was going into the unknown. And as everyone knows, Scotland's racist, or Scotland's this. So it was a big, like...
Was it a reality check?
Yeah, greatly. In relation to, I'm not that bad girl in there. I'm not going to be that bad girl. I'm not going to have that persona. No one's not going to know me how they know me down here. So the first night I've gone in there, oh my gosh, it was daunting.
And you were 17?
I was 18, I was 18.
18, okay.
18. And I've gone in there, but for the first time, they put you on this wing called the Care Bear. So if your first time admission to the prison, they want to see how you act and your mental mind. So I was like, yeah, this is life. Gone into this big little prison, everything's cushy, pool table, it was lovely. So there was this another girl in there, first timer, and me and her got on, it was nice. And kind of, we're in this together, so let's just kind of take steps together. And we've gone down to dinner, and this where it kind of got a bit like Zombie Nation, Dawn of the Dead, because everybody in there was on meds. So it was like, they either tried to commit suicide, they got mental health problems, and literally I've had the food, sat down at this table, and it's literally all eyes was on me and this new girl. And I tell you, I sat there and I never took my eyes off the plate. Until it was time to get out, I never took my eyes off the plate, because I didn't want to have my eye contact, because the mind frame was some of them people in there. You've got people who had wounds, like gashes, and I'm like, you know, like you see that on the telly, you're like, so to see that in person, you're like, you don't want to offend nobody, because you don't know what their mental mind is. So everything's cushy, played pool, nice, thinking, yeah, I can get used to this, is light work. The cell was big, everything, you had your own toilet and shower in the cell, it was cushy. So the next day, someone from the Wales has come over. So in this prison, it's the only female prison in Scotland. So you've got the young offenders and you've got the adult prison. And they've said there's a problem on the block, the Wales block, they need to move a bully. There's a bully on the block that they need to move. And basically, the way they have to change the rooms around, one of us can go in one of the rooms with the girls. There's a spare bunk in the Wales. So we've gone over, and the Wales is on a 72-hour lockdown. They scolded one girl with sugar and water. A beast. So they call them beasts. People who kill, they call them beasts in Scotland. So they scolded her. And I've come on the block on a 72-hour lockdown. As I've gone in the room, I've walked in, I've had my sack over my shoulder, and I've walked into this, call it the cave. It was black, and there was just this white girl sitting on the bed rocking. Curtains, everything was boarded up. The tear just went, bow. Supposedly my head dropped the floor, slapped the floor. I said, I can't do this. So I can't do this. The officer said, do you want to make a call for my mum? And I said, my mum, I can't do this. I can't do this. My mum said, Nequela, you put yourself in a situation, you can get yourself out, stay strong, you can do this. And I turned back, went in the cell, and that was it. I got on with it. Just thought, you know what, it's true, I put myself in this situation, so there's no crying now, no. Joe, I was shocked. I was like, mobile phones, things, everything you can get in there, everything. It's like, whoa, how is this happening? And it's not through what I saw, how I saw this. It wasn't through the security guards or the screws. It wasn't through none of those people. This was other operational stuff, how the drugs was getting in the jail. So yeah, it's astonishing how the system's been misused and how everyone's having a holiday, because it was a holiday for me. Yeah, so I did a documentary with Whittaker and girl gangs, and at the time I was on the documentary, but I was blurred out because I had a pending case. So that blurred out caught a bit of attention, because everyone's like, why is that person blurred out? Everyone else's face is seen, and why is it blurred out? So a few of my mates who was doing a bit of music with PDC back then, they kind of got in contact with her firstly to see if there's anybody who would be interested in doing like a bit more follow-up about gang intervention, gang life, girls and gangs, etc. And my friend hadn't had that much experience of that road life or that kind of culture, so she put Tim and everyone my way. So after a while, Tim got in contact, and he was kind of just basically saying he's the author of Street Boys, and he wrote a book with Judge Souls, and the story tells a story of 7 boys coming from the roads, but it's seven boys, one story, one estate, and he wanted to get another kind of insight from a female's perspective of what gang life and street culture is like. So before I went to prison, I spoke with Tim, and I was like, yeah, I like the idea, but right now I'm not wasting no one's time. I'm going to prison. If you're ready later, if you're here when I come out, we can maybe talk things through and go from there. So coming to that, the end stretch of my prison the last bit of my prison sentence, I was thinking, what can I do? There's a lot of content here. What can I do? And I thought, oh, Tim, this guy. All right, cool. So I've got out and I've contacted him. I was in a bad place. I had nothing. Like everything I'd worked up for, I had nothing. I was back to zero. So I thought, I need to get myself on something. This just can't be it right now. So I contacted him and I've arranged a meeting. Let's sit down and talk. Let's see what your ideas are, where you want to take this, and like what do you really see with me? What do you want? So we've had this meeting, done the first meeting, and on the first meeting he's come with his dictaphone, and he said, he's really interested in what he's heard and what he's seen, and can he wants to write a book. And I said, a book? So I'm like, cool. Every evening, every day I was working on it, just taking it everywhere with me, working on it. Then we got a draft. So we took this draft to Colin Harper's and we tried to push. Colin Harper's are the same people that published Street Boys. But at the time, when we pushed it through, the person the advocate we had from Colin Harper's, no offence to the lady, but she went from the real world. She was from up north, and up north culture to London culture is totally different. You're a mixed race lady, you've got mum and dad still living with you, you've grown up in a 2-parent household. Your perception of how this book is, you're not going to understand what generation it will hit in London. So they declined it. They was like, nah. We pushed it through another couple other places, other publishers, they declined it. I said to Tim, see you later mate, I've got to go to work, I need to make money. I ain't going to be pushing this book and I ain't getting anywhere, so I need to make money. So right now I need to go to work. My real world's working right now. Money's my motive, so I ain't got time to really focus on that. And we pushed it aside. Pushed it aside for about 4 or 5 years, and it was just there. 2014 I worked in a Peru, and there was a lot of girls with these issues. A lot of girls gang affiliated. Pupil referral unit. Okay. So young people have been kicked out of mainstream education. So there was a few girls there, and I thought, these girls I came up in this kind of era. I came up wanting to be a ruffian and doing road. The difference is, I weren't selling my body. I weren't being exploited. I weren't at the bottom of the chain. In my eyes, I was at the top of the chain for my era growing up. So it was like, you little girls need to read this story. Read what my life, how the roles have changed over the years and how women have devalued themselves. Because when I was growing up, it wasn't like that. Boys used to get beaten up. It wasn't, girls used to beat boys up. It wasn't, they was scared of us when we was growing up. So how is it now that you're coming home with your gun and you put it in your mum's house for a boy? That was a total different, I would never do anything like that growing up. That is just like breaking the rules of like, that's disrespectful. But a lot of young girls now, that's the way. To get in with the in crowd, I'll hold that for you. Or I'll take your drugs, or I'll carry your rucksack with the knives in it. So I thought, you little girls need to be educated, re-educated. Especially if you want to do road, because road's got a whole different, it's a whole nother world, especially when you're not from there and you're trying to do it. So I allowed them to read the book and they loved it. These young people loved it. I was like, Nix, miss, seriously, is that your life? And I said, yeah. I said, that's what I've been through. You would never think that just because I'm here working with you young people that I don't have a past. This is my story and my journey for me to be able to be in this foundation, because I can't teach you young people something that I haven't yet chosen to change. So I let a colleague read it, and my colleague read it in the night. She read it, 4 o'clock she emailed. She was like, Nix, she loved it. Then she manifested turning it into a play. So all of that came out and the thought was there. So the thought was there and I thought, you know what? Right now I don't think I'm ready to put myself at the front of the shelf with a play. So let me focus on just trying to work on the book. For me to publish that book, I had to address every issue that I put in that book. So I had to know that all 21 chapters, I was over it. I've gone through it, I've overcome it, and now I'm ready to share. But if I wasn't able to get over it, I would have never been able to publish that book. So for me, it allowed me to address my demons and put myself to the front of the shelf. And I put myself to the front of the shelf with the book. And I thought, that was what I thought. I thought like, I'm coming out in the ends naked. That's how I felt. Because what people know of me isn't what they've read. So everyone had a perception of me. Oh yeah, I may have had a fight with that girl. But when you read the book, you now understand the reason why I had a fight with that girl. It wasn't just, oh, I wanted to have a fight. There was a small print behind it. But when you're growing up, you don't have time to explain that to everybody. So if you get that opinion of me because you troubled me and then I came and had a backlash, but everyone's only seen my reaction, why do I have to justify that? So right now, here's the book, here's the explanation for a lot of my behaviour over the years. So if a lot of people understand that everyone changes, then the book's the proof of the product. So for me, it was like, I do kind of need to justify myself to the end because I was a nasty character for a little while. My theory was, in life, there's some people who take the shit the hood throws at them. Some people don't. And I took the shit the hood threw at me for a little while. And after I said, no, forget this. Because at the end of the day, no one is any bigger than better than anybody when we're all coming from the same environment. So why is it that I'm the victim? So I had that victim, it stopped. The victim, I became the perpetrator. And with that, I upset a lot of people in the end. So I felt like, as I've grown up, I may not have said sorry directly, but this is reason for my behaviour in it. So that's how I summed the book up. That's the journey I took with it. I self-published it, so I used Amazon Create Space, and it took me about 2 years to learn it. So I downloaded the manual, I read everything, tried it 1 year, it didn't work. Then I came back the end of the next year and I just mastered it. I mastered the platform, how to template, how to format, everything. And then I thought, yeah, I'm going to push this. And then I thought, I gave myself January last year, I wanted to do it for January, and it wasn't reachable, the goal wasn't reachable. And I fiddled with it and I said, yeah, May, with that, the idea of the play was already manifested. So the play was already in action to roll for May. So it was like a double whammy. So the book, my final product of, I think it gives closure to my youth. It gives a lot of closure to my youth. Now I'm going into my adult years. The youth days are over. I've packed it, and now I want to share, because there's a lot of young people who can relate to the book. So might give back to the community.